Now is Representative Ron DeSantis, member of the House Oversight Committee. The chairman of that committee has demanded that the FBI turn over all the documents it has about communications between President Trump and the former FBI director. Congressman DeSantis, welcome. Good to have you with us tonight.
Good evening.
What do you think about the news?
Well, you know, Martha, I was thinking about how the Hillary Clinton email investigation happened. You had the President Obama saying nothing to see here, move along publicly. You had Bill Clinton meeting with the Attorney General, Loretta Lynch. We know that it was a slipshod investigation, no grand jury even used to get documents. And yet there was no special counsel appointed there, even though I thought that there should have been. And so it was my judgment that if you read the actual regulation, it requires a criminal investigation. And this had been basically a counterintelligence investigation, according to former Director Comey. So I didn't think the regulation had necessarily been triggered. However, I agree with Professor Turley. I think that from the Trump administration's perspective, having this done in whatever time it takes and then be done with is probably going to be better than continuing to do this through the media and with the Democrats always, engaging in hysteria. So even though I don't think the regulation was necessarily triggered, I think it's probably going to end up working out better for the president this way.
It doesn't disband or end the investigations that are going on the Hill. I mean, those are still going to go on. So you still have the potential for the politics and the day-in, day-out observation of all of this to keep very much in the bloodstream, don't you?
You do, but I think what's happened up to this point is there's been nonstop innuendo. There's been all this smoke, but really no evidence of any fire. And when you talk about collusion with Russia, first of all, collusion is not a crime. What they're basically alleging is a criminal conspiracy between Trump's campaign and the Russian government. And my view is why would you do that to hack John Podesta's emails? So I don't think that we've seen any evidence of that. And it just strikes me as being something unlikely to actually have occurred. But we're going to end up seeing that now. So I think you're going to see less leaking. And I think the average American is probably going to care more what Robert Mueller says than what some Democratic congressman says.
And I would venture to guess that the average American cares a lot more about tax reform, a lot more about health care. They're looking at people in your position and saying, the GOP has control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. This is not what we expected. We didn't expect months of, sort of spinning over this Russia situation. Why don't you all just get back to work and let this sort of take its own now that the special prosecutor has been put in place? Can they expect that will happen?
I hope so. You're exactly right. We have the Senate needs to produce a health care bill.
Yep.
I think they can do it. And then we move on to tax reform. Then we do ethics reform to drain the swamp. We do things to build the wall. If you do that, that's what the average American cares about.
You have a lot of Republicans who have, sort of been voicing some pretty serious concerns about President Trump and about, how much sort of security he has right now in his position. What do you think about that? Is this a moment for that, or do you want them to sort of get on the same page and focus on the work?
Yeah, look, I think that's totally not even in the cards at this point, and I think the people that are saying that are not doing a service. I think we got to focus on our work. We do have the ability to do oversight. We will get Comey's memos. And by the way, I want all of Comey's memos. I want his memos about Loretta Lynch and Hillary Clinton and all of that so that we can get true oversight over that whole ordeal. And so we have a role there. You now have Bob Mueller in place. And then we have an agenda that we have to do. So I think, engaging in some of these kind of visions, to me, is not productive for Republicans to be doing right now.
Are you going to subpoena documents with regard to the Hillary Clinton situation?
So the Senate Judiciary Committee has done that. We have not yet in the House. I would like to do that and make sure we get all of the memos, because I think they're very relevant to how that investigation was conducted. And don't forget, there's an active IG investigation into not only Director Comey's conduct, but also former Attorney General Loretta Lynch's conduct vis-a-vis the Hillary Clinton case.
Yeah, that question was raised last night with Congressman Trey Gowdy when he was here. He suggested to us that there was quite a bit more to the decision by Director Comey to have to take ownership of that situation, that he was very much aware of more entanglements, perhaps, between the Clintons and the Department of Justice than anybody really knows about. Can you add anything to that?
I can tell you that I agree with Trey. We've always suspected that. Getting Comey's memos may be able to flush some of that out, which I think would be very productive. So I do want to do it. I mean, the bottom line is you can't explain how that case was handled as being just a normal course of business. It was a radical departure for how these cases are handled. And really, the American people have still not been given a proper accounting of why it was handled that way.
Well, Trey Gowdy claims that if everybody knew the whole story there, and he says he does, that they would cut James Comey quite a bit more latitude in terms of the way he took over that investigation. So we stand by for more information on that as it comes out. Thank you very much, Congressman DeSantis. Good to have you with us today.
Thank you.
So here now.